Please watch the video until the end to discover the whole story and its quiet surprise. Chapter 1, The Storyteller and the Question. They always said that memory is a kind of map, part compass, part watercolor sketch, and the storyteller knew how to read both. On a cool evening, with a slow rain tapping the windows, Alex sat with his daughter, Emma, who had a small, earnest face and questions that wanted answers. She asked, not for classroom facts but for the messy geography of his heart, who had he loved, and who had stayed. The storyteller, neither boasting nor deflecting, began. It was easier, sometimes, to tell a tale than to confess a truth, and so Alex began to string his life into episodes, each woman a landmark on a route that had been winding and often uncertain. He had promised to be honest, and in the first chapter he set the coordinates: college towns with cracked sidewalks, a city where street lamps smelled like fried dough, and a loft that smelled of paint and possibility. These were the beginnings, bright, naive, and certain that the next step would be the right one. Chapter 2, Nora, the First Bright Road. Nora was a breath of spring. She arrived like a sentence half-formed, finishing his thoughts with an ease that made him wonder whether they'd always fit together. She taught community classes, collected postcards, and could find a path through any argument with a laugh that sounded like sunlight. Alex remembered the early dinners, cheap wine poured into chipped glasses, shared sandwiches eaten standing in a kitchen that smelled of basil. They planned a life along the straightforward lines people show on maps: marriage, 2 kids, a dog named Jasper. But life is not only a series of checkpoints. When work asked more of Alex and when Nora's patience met the blunt edge of his indecision, distance widened. They separated with compassion, a parting that bore no scandal but did carry the ache of what wasn't quite enough. The storyteller watched Emma's brow furrow as he described this first bright road. It had been beautiful, and its ending had been gentle. It left him with tenderness and the lesson that beauty alone could not substitute for clarity. Chapter 3, Sophie, the River Bend. Sophie was an insistence. Where Nora had been spring, Sophie was a river that changed its color with the season. She was a campaign organizer, a woman who could mobilize strangers into a choir of action. Her convictions were a challenge to Alex's softer compromises. She taught him that passion could not be ignored. They fell apart and together with more drama than Alex had planned. Nights were long debates and mornings were apologies written in coffee rings. Sophie's love was a catechism, it demanded faith and offered transformation. Alex learned to stand in her currents, to be carried and to be resisted. He admired her courage and feared its cost. Their ending was abrupt, the kind that leaves a bruise. Sophie left for another city, for a cause that felt larger than either of them. It was a graceful vanishing, letters, a single return sweater, a closed door. The storyteller admitted that with Sophie he had learned the erosive power of ideas when they overshadowed the quieter, daily acts of being with someone. Chapter 4, Rachel, the Night Train. Rachel arrived for Alex the way late trains arrive, sudden, promising, and slightly dangerous. She had a laugh that could derail plans and a habit of staying up until dawn. She was an editor, a lover of old films, and she understood the way words could rescue a day. Their relationship was punctuated by impulsive trips, midnight diners, and intense conversations that sometimes left them exhausted with each other. Rachel loved him loud and immediate. Alex loved the idea of that urgency but found it hard to match its tempo. They created a small universe of shared jokes and playlists, but their rhythms were mismatched, her music quick, his slow. Their split came in a flurry of misunderstandings and a realization that continuity had been sacrificed for excitement. He learned from Rachel that joy could be fierce and fleeting, and sometimes the brilliance of the moment was no substitute for the steadiness of morning light. Chapter 5, The Hidden Shore. After these departures, Alex drifted into a quieter chapter. He fell into a job that required attention and a small apartment that required care. His daughter arrived later, while some of the map's routes were already smudged. Parenthood rerouted him in ways no person ever could. There were nights of whispered lullabies, mornings of cereal crust kisses, and a constant that felt more sacred than any romantic vow. As he recounted these years, the storyteller revealed that the woman who would become Emma's mother had not been one of the bright roads he showcased on a map, but rather the hidden shore he had once overlooked. She was a neighbor at first, someone who returned books he'd borrowed, who watered plants while he traveled, who knew how to make a quiet life feel like a deliberate choice. Their courtship was not cinematic. It involved patching a leaky sink together, attending a parent-teacher meeting and laughing at a joke that somehow bridged years of otherwise unspoken fears. The storyteller admitted that it had taken him longer to notice the constancy of small gestures, the way she remembered milk when he forgot, the way she listened without trying to fix things. These gestures accumulated like pebbles, until one day they made a shore. Chapter 6, The Map Unfolds. In the final chapter, Alex sat with Emma and pointed to the map of his life, not to mark winners but to show the truth. Love is not a single highway but an archipelago. Some islands shine from a distance, some are sheltered coves that prove indispensable. He explained how each woman had taught him a language, Nora for tenderness, Sophie for conviction, Rachel for fire, and the neighbor, Lena, who became the steady shore, who taught him presence. Emma listened, eyes wide, and then asked the question that had been threaded throughout the tale: was Lena the right one? The storyteller smiled and said that right had been less a certitude than an arrival, two people choosing each other again and again, even when boredom arrived and when anger threatened. He told her that the story did not end at the moment of decision. It continued in the daily ways people return to one another, in apologies, in shared silence, in holding hands through small defeats. He closed the tale by saying that maps are helpful but incomplete, what matters is the walking. The audience of one, his daughter, understood at last that the person who had stayed had been revealed not by lightning but by habit and courage. The storyteller felt lighter, having laid out the routes and the detours. He had given Emma not a single answer but a pattern. Love appears in different costumes, and sometimes the safest harbor is the one you build together. If you enjoyed this retelling, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, give the video a like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share the video with friends.